Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Ballcaps and Bagpipes, a Scottish baseball podcast. I'm Glasgow Comets left fielder John McKellar.
And I'm Jason Durr, the former Scotland president and Hall of Famer.
Jason, we didn't have a show last week. There was a kind of combination of you being a bit under the weather through the week, and then last weekend I just simply didn't have the time to fire an episode together. How are you feeling now, man?
Feeling much better. So, gutted we missed last week. I thought the first episode went really well. So here's the episode number 2.
This is episode number 2, indeed. We will quickly go over the last 2 Sundays' worth of games. There were 3 double bills the Sunday before last, and then also this past Sunday's games before we preview what we have coming on the final day of the regular season this year. There are still several teams with it all to play for. Obviously, the Glasgow Galaxy kind of quite comfortably won their 3rd successive title this year. But those last 3 postseason cup spots are all very much still to play for. There are several teams looking at the 4th spot, including my own Comets. We are headed out to Edinburgh to try and sneak our way in, but we'll cover that in a bit. Firstly, let me just announce that we do have an interview coming up on the show this week. We have Jacob Wright of the aforementioned Champion Galaxy joining us. I'm looking forward to speaking to Jacob. He's a guy who, I'll be honest, I haven't really spoken to before. You know, I don't know him all that well, so it's going to be interesting for me both to interview him as a player, but also to try and get to know Jacob a bit more as a guy. So let's talk about the games from the Sunday before last. And as we said, Jason, it was 3 double headers. Did you manage to get along to any of those games in Edinburgh?
No, unfortunately not. I didn't have a chance to go down there and see how it goes. Although I do believe you won both your games. I did see an update about you doing pretty well.
The Comets split a double header that Sunday. We unfortunately in the kind of midway portion of the first game, we had kind of a lot of untimely errors and errors that kind of cost us in a big way. We won the second game though. We hit a hell of a lot better in the second game, that's for sure. And we tightened up the defence a wee bit. But by and large, I think a split between the teams was probably the fairest result on the day. We hosted the Aberdeen Oilers. I want to give props to their Game 1 starter. I believe his name's Federico.
Yep, I know.
Yep. Yeah, he was absolutely lights out, totally dominant. I think that he was the biggest kind of factor in that first game. Yeah, absolutely fantastic performance by him on the mound. Second game, we won it by a score of 20-10, with the first game ending 18-7 in favour of the Oilers. All in all, a competitive day of baseball, a long day, as I remember.
Did you guys finish all 7 innings, both games, or?
No. Both games, I don't think either game went 7. Both games were ended by the 2-hour time limit.
Right. Okay.
For those listening who might not know, in our league, double headers have a 2-hour limit to kind of keep us from being at the ballpark all day long, and to make sure everyone can get home at a reasonable hour. So you either play 7 innings or 2 hours, whichever comes first. I've found that in double headers that I've played in recently, there have been fewer and fewer that have gone to 7. They usually tend to end around the 4th or the 5th. I think that's just a byproduct of the kind of offensive nature of our league. You know, teams play each other and games are usually high scoring. It's just one of those things. The Cannons and Express played a doubleheader. The Express swept that by the looks of things, winning 7-4 and 12-1. So they were actually relatively low-scoring games, and particularly 12-1 is a pretty dominant performance. I'm going to have a wee look in the game report here at that one. So the Express kind of dominated the early innings of that game. 5 runs in the first, 3 in the second, and 4 in the fourth, before the game ended in the 5th. 3 hits allowed. Only 3 hits allowed by the Express. I don't know who they had on the mound. I'm going to see if I can find that out now. It looks like Lawrence Orafiri pitched that game. 3 hits, just 1 run, unearned. He did walk 9, but he also struck out 9 in the game. So that, for our league, is quite a dominant performance. Speaking of dominant performances, Jason Stott of the Galaxy pitched a very dominant game 1 in their doubleheader over in Edinburgh. The Galaxy swept the Giants over the 2 games, winning by, I think, a score of 9-2, I believe, was the first game. I'm trying to find that here. 10-5 was the score in game 2. The first game ended, 9-2. Jason Stott pitched the complete game in that one. That game went 6 innings.
That's not bad.
Yeah, the Galaxy scored 9 runs on only 4 hits, so it looks like whoever the Giants had on the mound had a pretty wild day.
Not necessarily wild. There might have been a few errors out that way too. So
it looks like actually because only 2 of the runs were earned runs. 6 errors on the game for the Giants. So yeah, an unfortunate loss for them. They had been on I think a 7-game winning streak or something along those lines before that. They had that streak snapped by Jason Stott, and it looks like they've kind of beaten themselves more than anything. They've just had one of those days because they actually out-hit the Galaxy by 6-4.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it's what putting the balls in play causes errors and the score runs, and it just seems to cascade that way.
Yeah. They weren't unfortunately able to pick themselves up for the second game and were swept. I think the only one then that wasn't a sweep was ours with the Oilers. That was a split double header. I remember that weekend being very taxing on the body. It was quite exhausting to play those 2 games. Quite a difficult day of baseball.
So I want to ask you. So when we used to play in the Northern League, we would go to Liverpool. So we would go and drive that 5-hour drives there, and we would play our full 14-inning games and then drive back home. So there was a good chance we were gone for, I'd say 16, 17 hours. Do you think you could do that now? I mean, obviously this is going back 15 years ago, but
yeah, I don't know that I would be able to do that. I really don't think that if we were to do that I would be able to perform particularly well in that circumstance personally. There are some people who I think could, but me personally, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that guys, bring up, like the travel is a big deal here, and it's like I always have to remind we used to drive 4 or 5 hours each directions and play a doubleheader, then come back. But then we didn't know any different. So if that was part of the deal, was going to Liverpool or Hull or to Menwith Hill, we would go down and make a day of it and have fun with it there. But whereas now you can kind of go, okay, I've got a single game versus Aberdeen, so it's kind of a long drive back and forth, but it's doable.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys did it, to be honest. I really I'm dreading the trip to Edinburgh this coming Sunday, and that's only an hour or so either way.
But I think it's like the same thing. It's just the passion for the game. Like you knew you had to go do that. I mean, I think a couple times we did stay overnight. I remember a night in Manchester, and we did stay overnight there, and definitely a night in Sheffield, where I think like 12 of us all slept on the floor, every guy's flat, and then played the next day.
Oh dear, that really is a passion. You only do that if you're very passionate about something, especially a game like this in this part of the world where it's not something you're really getting paid for. This is very much an amateur sport here, so.
Well, not only are you not getting paid for it, you're paying to play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's it's definitely guys with a passion and a love for the game. It's quite profound, actually. It's quite amazing to see, especially for baseball in this country. Let's move forward to this past Sunday. I believe there were only 2 games. I don't think, were there any games out in Edinburgh? According to the schedule, there weren't.
I don't know. It's my honest answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the festival softball tournament. So games tend not to be played during that then because there's a few guys that go back and forth there. I think in the past we tried to make sure there was no game scheduled, because I know even from the Glasgow side, guys would come over for that tournament. So, but don't quote me on that.
Looks like the only two games were the Edinburgh Cannons facing the Express. Oh wait, it looks like that was at Bobby Thompson Field. Unless that's been some kind of an error on the website, it looks like that game was played in Edinburgh. Let me just double check here. It says Cannons at Express, but when I go into it says that the game took place at Bobby Thompson Field, so I'm not entirely...
Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I would assume it would have been updated if it had been played.
Yeah. I don't know. At the end of the day, there were two games, the Cannons and Express. The Express appeared to have won that one by 14-7. And in Glasgow, the Comets defeated the Devils 19-7 in a very good game. Actually, I really enjoyed playing that one. The Devils played well, but I was very happy with particularly the defensive work from the Comets. Although it looks like a massive scoreline because we scored 19 runs, it was 19 hard-earned runs. And the defensive play by the Comets was the best it's been in a long time. We managed to reduce the number of errors drastically. The fielding quality was just overall much better. Massive shout out and props to Robert Grutzella, who started the game on the mound for us. He pitched his actual heart out that day, and he was the main reason for us winning.
Okay.
Polish power himself, man. He absolutely dominated and kept us. He kept us within a shout of making the postseason.
Right. He's like a personal trainer, isn't he? Because he's a big dude.
Oh yeah. He's as ripped as it gets, man. I hear tell from one of my teammates who shall remain nameless because they don't want to embarrass him, that he has actually seen Robert coming out of a shower before, and that he was pretty embarrassed by his own body from then on.
Not to mention that if you piss him off, he'll rip you in half.
Oh yeah. He did have a bit of a funny go at the umpire at one point, and I think it kind of scared the shit out of the umpire, to be honest.
It's Scottish baseball. You never know what might happen.
Robert has muscles in places that most of us don't even have places, Jason. Oh dear. Yeah, so that's basically a quick overview of what's happened in the last two Sundays. This kind of stuff will be ironed out more as we move toward the start of next season. This is kind of something that we will gradually prepare and more for. Start to do this every week and have more time.
Yes, yeah. So as we said last week or 2 weeks ago, I said we've been talking about this for a year, and we need to get rolling. So the ball is rolling here. This is all just kind of a warm up till next season, and we appreciate you just with your patience with everything.
Definitely, yeah. With that kind of being said, let's get Jacob on, and let's talk to Jacob about his experience as a baseball player and as a baseball fan, how he ended up here.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. So we want to welcome Jacob Wright of the Scottish champion Glasgow Galaxy to the show, the first guest ever on Ballcaps and Bagpipes. Jacob, thank you very much for taking some time out of your Friday night to join us.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
It's great, man. It's great to have you. Have you sobered up from the championship celebrations yet?
Just about. I think it was a heady triumph. So just about coming back down to earth.
That's good to hear, man. You guys deserve the party. You've absolutely stormed it this year. I believe 15 or 16-2 on the year.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're 15 just now, and then got the last game of the season on Sunday.
Yeah. We in the Comets are kind of, although you guys are like our friendly rivals, I think we're kind of hoping that you win this week to increase our chances of postseason play. So you better not let us down, guys.
Yeah, I think unfortunately I'll be absent from this one, right. But it's disappointing because otherwise I would have been able to play every game in the season. But Yeah, it should be good. It's always good to support the crosstown teams whenever they're playing.
Indeed it is, man. Indeed it is. Now let's start the interview with your kind of background in baseball, Jacob. You're obviously, judging by your accent, not a native Scot. Would you like to tell the listeners kind of where you came from and what level of ball you played at previous to joining us in the Scottish League, how you ended up in the league, and sort of what your expectations were when you were coming in?
Yeah, no worries. I started playing. I grew up in Sudbury, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston, in the U.S. I played Little League. Started at T-ball, and then I just played Little League. Although I played fairly intensively. My one of my best friends growing up, his dad was our Little League coach, and he would take us even from the age of 8 or 9, like a couple of nights a week outside of practice, go to the batting cages, go do drills and things. So pretty baseball intensive when I was growing up. So mostly played Little League and played summer ball, fall ball. Tried out for a couple travel teams as well, but I never quite made the cut there. So when I came to Scotland, I moved when I was 14, and I pretty much signed it off. I thought there's no way they're going to play baseball in Scotland. So I never even bothered to check until I got the itch to play when I was 22 last year, and messaged John Tafe or Jason, I think it was, Jason Stott on the Galaxy, and they said, come on down. And I turned up at Tollcross Park, and the rest is history. Played for past 2 seasons, and it's been a great experience.
It's history indeed. You guys have won both years. I had a wee look at your stats for this season, Jacob, earlier. You're sitting right around the 30 runs batted in mark with 15 stolen bases and a home run as of not this past Sunday, but the one before. And given that you guys didn't have a game, I guess that would be as up to date as it's going to get. You've had an exceptional season this year. How much did you play last year? Because I missed most of last season, and I know that you and I haven't really properly had much of a conversation at all, to be honest.
Last season, I because I had strong fundamentals. I got put in a lot at the hot corner because I was a catcher growing up. And John Tafe, who's the catcher on the Galaxy, he put me in a lot to save his knees, I think. So I did get a lot of playing time, but I struggled batting last year. I think I only got 1 or 2 hits in the 8 or 9 games that I played. And then this year, being able to catch in the Scottish National League really helps with the game time because it tends to be a position with not as much depth. So it's one I really enjoy and one I'm glad I get to play so often.
Yeah, definitely. Catcher is kind of something that we have a paucity of in Scotland across the league.
I
mentioned.
I'm going to say, pitching, catching, that's always a struggle for us. And you really have to talk somebody into catching.
Do you find, Jason, that that's always been the case in our league?
I think we've been lucky. We've always had people that wanted to catch, and so you can do it. And then I think a lot of times you have new guys that come in that just don't know what they're doing. So it may take them a few years, and they go, you know what, this catching thing, I think I want to try it. And then you just kind of throw them back there.
Interesting, yeah. Jacob,
sorry.
Please continue.
Oh, I was just going to add on that I think it's definitely the toughest position to pick up, especially in Scotland. There's not a great wealth of coaching experience. The coaches and knowledgeable guys that we do have are really great, but even like dedicated catcher coaches or people with that knowledge. I'm really lucky on the Galaxy that John, has been a catcher for 30 years that he can give me some tips. But it's one of those positions where there's so much that goes into it that it's tough to instruct if you're not familiar with the position.
Exactly.
You mentioned, Jacob, that last season in your first year in the league, you did struggle a bit at the plate. Given the amount of experience that you had back in the States, that is quite surprising. What would you attribute that to? Do you think it might have been rustiness, or was it just a kind of obviously with the pace of the game here, it's probably not going to be something you would ever have experienced back home. What would you personally attribute that to? And what would you attribute your vast improvement this year?
I think it definitely has to do with the rustiness, although I think that became less of an excuse after I started going to training and playing the first, few weeks. I think the big issue I had was mental, because that's what they say about batting, isn't it? That it's 10% physical and 90% mental. That I was just thinking too much about what I was doing when I was up at the plate, and thinking about what pitch was coming and what I needed to do and who was on base and everything. When 90% of the time, unless they have some the ace up there, it's either going to be a fastball or some decent off-speed pitch. So you just got to wait on the fastball and try and drive it. So I think I was just thinking too much. And this year I really simplified my approach, and I think that helped me a lot.
So you've kind of almost set yourself an expectation and kind of made it more difficult for yourself then, you would say?
Yeah. Last year definitely just putting too much pressure on myself. And when you're feeling under pressure, unless it's kind of a good pressure, unless you're thriving off of it, then you tend to get downtrodden. Tends to play against you, I think. But this year, just kind of had the mind, formed the plan in my head before I went up to bat. But when I was there, I was just trying to execute what I'd been thinking about before.
I think.
Not trying to.
No, go ahead, Jacob. I was gonna jump in there in a second when you're done. So
It looks like we've lost him.
Oh, we lost him. All right. Well,
let's try and get Jacob back.
I thought my Wi-Fi was the one that crashed first.
So we lost Jacob for a bit there, but he's mercifully he's back with us now. You were just talking about your mental approach at the plate, Jason. Yeah. I believe that you had something you wanted to add there.
Yeah, I was going to say, so, quoting one of my favorite movies, Bull Durham, he goes out and talks to Nuke Lelouch and kind of says, don't think you can only hurt the ball club. And, and that's really a good way of thinking, what happens when you get up there, because you do overthink at the plate and just go, you just need to relax and just see the ball hit the ball.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what I tell myself. Just see the ball, hit the ball. And I find that when I'm practicing, I kind of have a mantra or something like that you tell yourself that kind of these complex actions can relate to in your brain. So personally, I go up and I say what do I say? I say grip it and rip it, and I tell myself that, and I whisper it to myself, and it kind of makes me ready, makes me kind of internally remember the things I've been doing in training and when I was in the on deck circle.
That's amazing, yeah. I know that my approach when I'm at bat, I tend to try and think of something really funny when I'm in the on-deck circle, and then try to think about absolutely nothing while I'm at the plate the entire time I'm there. I just try and react reflexively to the ball coming, and that seems to be a better approach for me than what I was doing before, which was quite similar to yourself. I was kind of overthinking things and trying to force myself to do this or that when I was at the plate, whereas doing that just made me freeze. I would end up freezing when the ball would be coming, and I found it much more difficult than it should have been.
Yeah, no doubt. Even the last 2 weeks I played, we had 2 doubleheaders, and in those, because we'd been off for 4 weeks or something beforehand, I was so much more in my own head. And the first doubleheader, I didn't do that well, but it wasn't so bad. And then the second one, I was just beating myself down over what I'd done and saying, you got to get back in this, you got to get back on it. And it's just never productive to try and to think about it like that, I think.
Well, to move on to something a bit more cheerful, you guys have won 2 straight championships since you've been around, Jacob, 3 overall. How does that feel to have come to Scotland after quite a lengthy period of not playing, to then join the Galaxy and to be part of that, a pretty big part, especially this year, of that success?
Yeah, it feels really good. It's playing baseball in Scotland is definitely one of the more enriching experience I've had. Not even just playing sports, but in throughout my life. It's such a cool thing to be a part of. I because it's such a small community. It's still big, but there's one league in Scotland. There's two teams in Glasgow, so it really fills you with a sense of pride that you're kind of representing your city when you're playing, um, and to play with such a nice group of guys and people that I'm glad I call my friends now. It's just been a fantastic experience.
That's great to hear, man. Talk us through, if you could, what you remember of the process of between when you expressed interest and how and when you discovered you were going to be on the Galaxy. Talk us through that process.
I actually really want to find out what you thought about your first practice when you walked up and you saw the field, because I know what mine was like. So, and everyone's got their own stories.
Yeah, I remember distinctly going to my first practice because I was like, where is there going to be a baseball field in Glasgow? So I turned up. I got the train from Charing Cross to Carntine, and then I went to Tollcross Park. And I remember rounding the bend from like where the entrance to the park, and I see the backstop, and I'm like, okay, that's a good sign. They have it. There's a backstop. Uh, and a group of guys throwing a ball around, and I was nervous. I had no idea what it was going to be like, what the level was going to be, but immediately everyone was really welcoming, and I think they saw me, or John or someone saw me throw, and field a few grounders, and it was it's commonplace now, and they say he's a Galaxy or he's a Comet. Everyone who comes, it's like dibs. So it was nice, and the other thing is that all the teams are really good about getting rookies playing experience. So even if I hadn't had the background that I did have, um, it would have been nice to know that I still would have got playing time. Like we had a good crop of new guys and a girl this year, and they've all gotten playing time and they've all improved a lot, and it's been great to see. And hopefully they'll stick over the winter.
Do you, Jacob, try to take an active role in, like you say, the new people, the rookies? Do you like to try and take an active role in their development? Do you feel that you spend a lot of the time that you're at practices kind of talking people through maybe processes they could try, or kind of trying to educate them in a coaching sort of way, or do you leave that up to guys like John?
I think when I have to, then absolutely. But it's. I think I help out as much as a teammate should, and it's difficult because I don't have a super great wealth of baseball knowledge, but um, I one training session, John, Jason, Gio, everyone who kind of usually led the practice was absent, and it was just me, a couple of other guys, and all the rookies. And I realized, I'm kind of the one who's got to show people what's going on here. So, but yeah, I mean, try and keep it simple, because that's one of the big things, is that there's a lot going into it, baseball, a lot of little things you can focus on when you get more comfortable with it. But the fundamentals are, pretty easy to instruct. When you're throwing mechanics, I was always taught the bird, where you thrust out your hand to the back and then turn your body and bring your arm over. And when you're batting, just stay balanced, keep your eye on the ball, keep your back foot planted, stuff like that. It's not super, or like I say, it's not very complex. So yeah, if and it just takes reinforcement, I think, and encouragement. So I I tend to take.
And the reps, like I said, you got to have the reps. I mean, we come.
Yeah, gotta have the repetition. Absolutely,
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing. And it's, if I had one gripe, it's that we don't, or not that we don't, but that we could practice more. Everyone in Scotland, it's like one. I think we've started training 2 times a week, which is really good, because it's just getting that muscle.
Oh, we lost him again.
Sorry about that. Was that me that dropped out again? I don't know what's going on.
All right, we're
I
back.
don't know either. That's fine. So we lost Jacob again there. Jacob, you were talking about muscle memory.
Yeah, muscle memory. I think that's the biggest thing is that, you know, when you're fielding ground balls, get low. You know, when you're shagging pop flies, two hands and things like that. Just getting those things concrete is really important, I think.
Now, you went 8 years without playing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Did you find that things came back rather quickly when you did? If they did were you quite pleased about that? The fact you hadn't touched the ball in 8 years and things came back.
Yeah, it was uncanny, you know, and I think I attribute a lot to the guy I mentioned earlier, my friend's dad, who, you know, would do drills with us multiple days a week. That it was like some force took over my body, and I just came back like that, you know, just instantly felt at ease. You know, some little things, but yeah, I definitely felt it.
That it was more just to see if because you know, from my own experiences, I had the same idea. Like it was great to just to kind of go, oh gosh, I can throw the ball again, you know, and you know, the swing took a little bit to get back, but you know, it was just interesting to see how everyone else had done that as well, because you know, you have guys who've come over that, you know, are months from not playing ball, and of course they can go rocket the ball 270 feet, and then you have guys like who haven't picked a ball in 8 years when holy shit, there's baseball. So
Yeah, I think the throwing was definitely the easiest thing to pick up again. Batting, yeah, it didn't come back until I properly started working on it over the winter training, and just, you know, swinging over and over and over again in my house, just trying to get the exact movement down.
and then of course you probably had to adjust to the speed of the ball played in Scotland, because you're not seeing people throwing 70 miles per hour that often.
Yeah, yeah, it's I really enjoy it actually. It's cool that, um, you know, you do get guys like the Express. They had 1 week. They had this Canadian guy who did come out throwing, like, I think he was throwing like 70 or 75 or something, and then, you know, they brought in their relief pitcher who was just throwing curveballs going like, you know, in the 50s or something. So it adds a lot of diversity, I think, to the game.
I know it's been interesting to see it all evolve, you know, and we've had, you know, more international people coming to help improve the game. So you know, it's definitely gotten better from when I started.
Yeah,
Jake.
I've even sorry, continue.
No, you please continue.
No, just saying I even notice I don't know if it's just the how recent it's been, but it feels like even this year compared to last, there's been an increase in quality.
I would definitely agree with that. I think in the games I've played, the quality of games is definitely trending up. It's been I think overall a more enjoyable experience the past 2 seasons than it's been during the time that I've been playing, and I started playing in 2013. So this is, I guess, my 6th or 7th season all in. But yeah, definitely when I've been playing in games, the quality of the games is improving, and I think the diversity of the skill levels and the experience levels of the rookies to our league, and some of the guys who have been around for a long time are starting to, like my co-host Jason. He hung up the cleats a couple of years ago. Some people are starting to leave the league, so people are taking over their spots as kind of the veterans, so to speak, of the teams. It's like the word that you used earlier, Jason, was perfect. The game is evolving and at a rapid pace over here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're obviously getting more locals involved. They're sticking around longer, so you know, and you know, we've talked about reps, you know, and you're getting those reps in. So you're not having someone who's, you know, brand spanking new going out to right field and having no idea what's going on.
Yeah, that's happening less and less over as time goes on, I think.
But that's great. I mean, it's great to see that we're building everything there. That is going strong. You know, we have 7 teams now and possibly 8 next year. So you know, it's, you know, we seem to be building on strength after strength.
Yeah, the level of organisation is just getting much better.
So, Jacob, I was curious. So, I'm assuming you're still in touch with people back home. What do they think about you playing baseball here?
I'm surprisingly, I'm not so in touch, but the people I do mention it to, extremely surprised. They can't believe that. Like I thought, that baseball is playing in Scotland. And then they're always curious as to what the level is like. And I compare it to, I don't know if you guys would agree, but kind of high school ball, like varsity high school ball, I'd say.
Yeah, it's
around
a
that
pretty
level.
fair judge, but I always said kind of JV high school ball, depending on what kind of level you played at JV and high school ball there.
Yeah.
But I mean, you always have somebody who comes along that can throw, that'll make a big difference. But yeah, I thought kind of like JV high school ball was probably about right.
Yeah. And it's entertaining. I think is the biggest thing. Is it's not like you're going out there to watch some guys who don't know what they're doing. It's you're still going out there to watch a contest between two real teams.
Speaking of contests, what was your favourite moment so far playing for the Galaxy on the field in Scotland?
I think my favorite moment has to be it's a selfish one, but the home run I hit this year. It was in the first game of the season, and it was after it was in the Comets Galaxy game. After I'd trained a lot over the winter. I'd really been wanting to improve on my performance from last year, and Albert was pitching, and he dealt me this fastball way inside that I probably shouldn't have swung at, but I managed to put it over the left field fence, and it was just fantastic. And everyone going to the plate to congratulate you just feels really good.
I remember that game pretty well.
Did they give you the ball though?
They didn't give me the ball. No, we had to use that one. I think that one was still in play.
You didn't just go kind of like, okay, let me check it out and sneak it in your pocket, keep it from there.
Sorry.
That was a crazy day at the ballpark. It felt like we were there all day. It was quite something, that game. I remember that home run pretty well. I believe I was umpiring the infield at the time when that happened, and I just remember going over, and obviously I have to try and be neutral, but I was just like, God, not again.
I remember because we had it was Thomas,
That's right. Yeah.
He's a pretty strict guy, and I remember I saw it go over, and I was running first or second, and he comes out into the field and he's going, no, check if it's a double, and but Andy Vaughn in left field, he was going, no, that's a home run. So that was really nice of him to do.
Did you know it was gone as soon as you hit it?
Oh, absolutely. Elvis, my teammate Elvis hit his first of the season, the last game we played, and he said the same thing. I think you always know. Not that I've ever hit any others, but I think you always know.
It's a nice feeling off the crack of the bat, and you go, and it's like it's got a chance, and then you watch it and see if it does.
Yeah. The only guy I don't know. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the only guy I don't know if he knows when it comes off the bat is Luis. Luis on the Galaxy.
Yes.
Because that guy just hits the crap out of any ball he hits.
Yeah. Are you finding it was a big adjustment to go from, say, playing with metal to playing with wooden bats?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's harder to make solid contact, or if you really have to barrel it up with a wooden bat, I think.
It's definitely less forgiving, that's for sure. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoy using the wood bat. I think I like playing. It feels like a purer form of baseball, and not that matters, but it's nice to feel like you're playing the truest form of the game, I think.
Jacob, what what goals have you set for yourself for next season? Obviously, the Galaxy have, as we've said, won the league, which means that you guys automatically have a berth into the Caledonia Classic. Obviously, any team that's going to be in it, that's going to be their goal, is to win that this season. But for you personally, moving forward beyond this year, what do you want to see improve in your game? And how would you like to see both the league and also the Glasgow club improve moving forward?
That's a good question. In my own game, I'd like to continue kind of firm up the changes that I made to my approach to play this year. But the big changes I want to make are defensive, and specifically catching. My big weakness has been blocking pitches in the dirt and things like that. So that's something I want to run a lot more drills on and kind of make less of a liability, because you Scottish baseball, you often find a lot of runners on, and they'll often reach third. So it really helps to not have as many pass balls. And as far as the team goes, I think what we've put into motion this year, just continue that. Try and encourage the rookies who have signed up this year to stay on and get more people playing. Because, like you say, there are people who are finding that they don't have the time or the inclination to play, and it would just be nice to get more people involved and grow the game more.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think what we do need is a constant turnover of players. Unfortunately, at this level, there will be people who will come and go from year to year, or even from month to month. I personally missed quite a big chunk of this season due to not being available to play a lot of games. So I'm certainly by no means the only one that's the case. To move away then from your experiences of Scottish baseball for the time being, Jacob, judging by the fact you're from Massachusetts, I'm safe to assume you're a Red Sox fan?
I am a Red Sox fan, yes.
Tell us your favourite Red Sox memory.
My favorite Red Sox memory? It was probably recent. It was probably this summer. I went to see a game at Fenway. I was visiting my brother who still lives in Boston, and just going to see. They were playing the Royals, but just going to Fenway after rediscovering my love of baseball was something that was really, really fantastic. And just it just felt like the truest instance of coming home. I'd say that's probably my favorite memory. Not that they won heavily against the Royals, as many teams have been wont to do this season.
Yeah.
That was a really good one.
So did you attend a lot of Red Sox games growing up? I mean,
it was yeah, I sort of, I'd go to a few games a year, and it would always be an event. We'd go, either my parents would drive, a few of my friends out, or we'd go with, one other of my friends' parents, but it was always a big day out. And if you were lucky, you'd get seats, bleacher seats or something else. But I remember more than once I had the pole seat, they call it, or I don't know if they call it that, but in Fenway, it's an old park, and there's a lot of seats that are near or behind the structural poles.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were referring to the pesky pole or actually the structural poles.
Yeah, the structural. I don't know what they're called. Beams? No.
Yeah, the beams are there. I know what you're talking about. We had the same problem when I was in that Wrigley Field. It's like that being the older stadium. You sometimes you have an obstructed view seat.
Yep. But yeah, I managed to get to a few games. I went to a lot more Spinners games, Lowell Spinners games, and even Pawtucket games than I did Red Sox games.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's one of those memories of growing up, and like I say, like your birthday comes up, so you end up going to the park, and get your name up on the scoreboard and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, get the baseball helmet full of ice cream.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You gotta have the baseball helmet full of ice cream.
It's a classic.
You guys are making me jealous now.
I mean, it's kind of unfair. I mean, I look back at, I'm from Seattle originally, and at 12 years old, my parents would let me and my friends jump on a bus 40 minutes to go to downtown Seattle, watch a Mariners game for $5, and then come pick us up after the game. That we did that quite often in the summer.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, well, it was the Mariners in the 80s, so I don't know how good of a deal it was. It got better when Griffey showed up, but yeah, it's one of those things. That was always one of my memories. It was we'd go to the Mariners, and you'd go see 3 or 4 games a year, and enjoy it that way. Because John's still not been to a baseball game yet.
Oh, really?
That is true, unfortunately. Yeah, I have never stepped foot in the United States of America. Hopefully I'll get along to the Cathedral someday, but who knows?
So I was going to say, Jacob, who's your favorite Red Sox player, or do you have a favorite player outside the Red Sox?
My favorite player, I'll do both. My favorite player on the Red Sox is Christian Vasquez, the catcher.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I've always liked him. The thing I really like about him is that he's solid defensively, and I really like his approach at the plate. He always seems to put in a good at bat and make the pitcher work and not give him any easy outs, not just go up there hacking.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of the Red Sox, I don't know if you guys know Willians Astudillo on the Twins.
The turtle.
Yep, La Tortuga. Yeah,
La Tortuga. Yes. You know what we're talking about, John?
I've heard of him, but I'm not all that well versed on him, I'm afraid.
So it's not just him; it's the legend of La Tortuga. So I'll let Jacob tell you more about him. But yeah, he's a character.
Yeah, he's this. He's got this head full of curls, and he's like 5'6", 5'7", and he's stockily built.
He's as wide as he is tall.
Yeah, I think he was something like there was some stat, but he's a utility player, and he played center field, and he was something like the only player under 5'7" and over 190 pounds to ever play in center field.
So he's a facsimile of Bartolo Colon, is what you're telling me.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
He could be the Bartolo related.
So there's not only that, he was running a stat last year. I don't know about this year. Like he'd only swung and missed 15 times during the season. Like he doesn't strike out very often, and then he makes contact consistently.
Yeah, he's crazy. It's similar this year, but he just doesn't miss. And I was watching an interview with him, and he tells this story about how his dad would throw, I think it was corn kernels, and he would hit them with a broomstick, and like that they would do soft toss like that.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's your off season, John. Yeah, it's gonna be corn kernels and a broomstick.
Yeah, I'm going to lock myself out of the house and keep going for hours and hours on end with the corn kernels until I can get a certain number in a row. No dinner for me until I've got it done.
It would help, I'm sure, if Astudillo is anything to go by.
No, I don't know about what you guys can do in Glasgow, but we had in Edinburgh. We did something similar. We had a metal stick. You can actually buy the rod there, and then we would throw wiffle golf balls. Same idea there. Obviously, it's not corn kernels and a broomstick, but yeah, we used to practice that way. So,
yeah,
I think we've got similar kind of things that happen indoor. I tend not to attend indoor training, unfortunately, so I think Jacob could probably give you a better idea of what's been done this past winter than I could.
Yeah, just a lot of soft toss. And yeah, with the little wiffle golf balls, that as well.
Yeah.
I think it really helps. Just
so speaking of that, so did you ever play wiffle ball growing up, Jacob?
Love wiffle ball.
Yeah, see, that I tried to bring that back over here, and then people were like, "What?" And then we tried throwing it and went all over the place, and so it quickly ended that way. But I mean, that's one thing I miss is playing backyard wiffle ball, and you got to see all those breaking pitches and try to figure out how to throw the damn ball.
Yeah, it's I've looked into getting a wiffle ball and bat over here, but I don't think they make them here like the real, the long yellow ones and the proper like 6-hole wiffle balls. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I brought mine from the States like years ago. And that was it. And then we lost the balls, and that was it. And John's going, "What the hell are you guys talking about?"
So anyway, Jacob, we'll wrap up right there. I think we would love to have you back on the show to tell us more about football-related stories and everything else that you've experienced over the years. Want to thank you once again for coming on the show and spending a part of your Friday night with us. It's very much appreciated. You've done us a massive favour as we try to trial this show over the remainder of the season. It's very good for us to get an opportunity to have someone come on live with us and do an interview in real time. So again, very, very much appreciated.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
All right.
We've enjoyed having you on, man. It's been great to chat with you. Let's have a wee look, guys, at what we have coming up this Sunday.
All right, but before we go, I got one last question to ask him, and it's probably will end on a lot. So, walk-up music. You get one song for your walk-up music.
Ooh. One song for the walk-up music. That's a tough one. I'd have to go with what would I go with? I don't know. I never realized walk-up music was a thing until the not even MLB teams started doing it, but the Express do it. They bring a big speaker to all their home games.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, they have all their players have walk-up music. But for me, I'd have to go maybe just a classic, maybe something like "Paint It Black" by the Rolling Stones, or yeah, I got a Baba O'Reilly. It's got to be Baba O'Reilly.
Oh, great choice.
Yeah.
That is such a good choice. I love it. So let's start with the Galaxy game this coming Sunday. Oilers are visiting the Galaxy at Tollcross, am I right?
Yep.
How are you guys feeling about that? I know you mentioned earlier that you probably won't be able to play, but do you think that the guys are going to be able to top off the season with a victory?
I think so. I mean, I'm obviously biased, but everyone's been playing really well. The only thing is that I think the Oilers do have Federico Gambadori, and he's just a great player. He pitched the best game I've seen pitched in the UK. I went with the Scotland team to the Battle for Britain in Kent, and he pitched. It was close to a perfect game through 6, and he's just a fantastic player. Yeah,
we played the Oilers in a double header at the field 2 Sundays ago, and he pitched game 1, and it was it was not a great experience trying to hit against him, put it that way.
Yeah. He's got his curveball it really pairs with his fastball well. It's one of the few I've seen in the league that when it starts coming in, most you can kind of tell that it's the curve and it's the movement that gets you, but it looks like the curve and then has you hacking way over the top of it. So.
Beyond that, the obviously Comets are visiting the Giants out in Edinburgh. That's a game I'm looking forward to. That could be our final game of the season. Certainly the 4th spot in the postseason is very much up for grabs. There are several teams still in the running, including ourselves, and the Giants have had a tremendous season, especially over the last couple of months. We covered that in the opening, Jacob, that you guys, the Galaxy, with the sweep the other week in the doubleheader, actually ended quite a lengthy winning streak for those guys. So we are certainly up against it, but we're going to give everything we have. The only other games that are on are a doubleheader between the Devils and Express that day. We'll probably be, I think, hoping for a split between those two, a Galaxy victory and a Comets victory. I think that's pretty much the only way we're going to be able to get into the Caledonia Classic. Regardless of what happens, though, again, thanks for coming on the show, Jacob, and we wish you and the Galaxy every success with the Caledonia Cup and certainly continued success moving forward.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Jacob.
Cheers, guys.
So, Jason, to close, what do you have for us today? This is Friday as we record. What's your this day in history for Friday, the 6th of September?
So this is a good one. So
I know it's a good one because I saw it earlier.
You saw it. So yeah. So this is where Cal Ripken broke Lou Gehrig's Ironman streak, and he played 2,100, I think 54 games in a row, if I'm correct. So I saw that he had tied it yesterday, so I knew today this was definitely gonna be the one. So I definitely remember watching that in Sports Center, and it was cool. The coolest that he had played all those games.
Yeah, the Iron Man. He outpaced the Iron Horse himself. Just an insane stat that I genuinely don't think will ever be touched.
No,
there is no way that that's ever going to happen again, especially with how baseball is now. No, it's untouchable for at least the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I guess I think the last guy had something like maybe 500 something games, 450 games. So, that's only 3 seasons you're talking about. So, trying to do for another 10 or so, it's a long ways away.
Yep. Cal Ripken was something special. I remember, I've told the story on the last episode 2 weeks ago of how I kind of started watching baseball, and it was right around the weekend that he played his last All-Star game. And I remember him hitting that home run on the first pitch he saw that day. And it was just something else.
So there was a story behind it, because that was the one where he was supposed to play third base and E-Rod was playing short. And
Yes.
they swapped so you could do that.
And E-Rod fucked up the play.
But I also want to say, I think they grouped him a fastball so you could hit over him if the rumor is correct. No one's denied it, but I think they kind of told him that he was going to get a belt high fastball for him to swing away.
Oh, the good old days of the All-Star game not meaning anything.
So the one thing you probably didn't know about Cal Ripken is he constantly changed his swing. He never had the same batting stance.
That is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Is this something that he stated he did consciously, or was it just something that people have noticed?
He could go from one at bat to the next at bat and have 3 different batting stances. He was known for that. So whatever was working for him that day, he just kind of went with.
Well, I mean, that's so Cal, isn't it? He did just kind of go with whatever was working. I think that's what made him so enduring. He didn't try to be a home run hitter or a singles hitter. He just went with what he felt comfortable with from day to day.
Yes, and of course he was a great shortstop. He was one of the first people that was a prototype for all the big shortstops you see now, or the A-Rod, the Nomar, the Jeters. There was never been a 6 foot tall shortstop till he started playing.
Yeah, and he's one of very few people to play on a team with his father, isn't he?
And his brother.
And his brother, that's right. That has to be the only club where that's happened.
Possibly. I'm trying to think, because there's a few other families, like the Boones.
Yeah.
They might have had his dad manage one of the sons, but I can't verify that. But yeah, to have your dad manage and play with your brother, that's definitely the only time that's ever happened.
It's just crazy. Anything else? Any other morsels of interest in baseball history today, or is that the kind of main one?
That's the one for today. You'll have to follow the rest of them on the Instagram to see what I put up each day. So
where can people find you on Instagram?
So you can find me at Bubba on Baseball. I'm also on Twitter, but I've been posting more on Instagram to kind of grow the following there. So I think it's definitely more visual and more fun to see what goes with that moment of history every day. Excellent.
And you can also follow this podcast on social media. Just search at Caps and Pipes. The Facebook is working. I don't know about the Twitter. Has that been sorted?
No, we're still in Twitter jail for some reason. We'll figure out what's going on.
Yeah, something. There seems to be some kind of technical hitch with the actual Twitter for the show, but you can follow us on Facebook. Just search at Caps and Pipes. You can hear me on 2 other podcasts, both the NHC Music Podcast and the NHC Gaming Podcast. Search both on any of the Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Anchor or anything, wherever you want to hear it. Wherever you're listening to this now, search for my other shows. I can assure you they're brilliant. And obviously you can catch me on the field this Sunday with the Glasgow Comets in Edinburgh.
Good luck this weekend, John.
Thank you so much. It's going to be a great day of baseball, I think, across the league. I think with the new postseason format, the top 4 teams going in, it does add an extra dimension to this last weekend. It's kind of like a helicopter Sunday situation that you would sometimes see in football, where you don't know quite where the prizes are going to go until the last kind of whistle blows. So, yeah, we're gonna do everything we can to make it in. But as I've mentioned earlier, we've had some defensive innings that just haven't gone our way for whatever reason, and I think that's cost us more times than we would be comfortable with over the year. So if we don't make it, it's going to be something that we'll have to take that in stride and work on not allowing that to happen next year. But obviously the goal for us, if we can, is to make it in.
Good stuff. Yeah, final weekend of baseball, and then we'll find out what happens after that.
Yep, and we will be doing hopefully weekly podcasts during the Caledonia Classic as well, the postseason tournament. We certainly will cover it as much as we can as we continue to try and iron out the creases of this podcast and get it kind of to a place where it can really properly launch next season for 2020. In the meantime, though, Jason, do you have any major plans for the weekend?
I have play dates with my kids. That's my weekend.
Sounds like a great weekend, man. I hope you have a good time, and we'll chat next week.
All right, man. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk next week and see how everyone did.
Awesome. Thank you to everyone for listening. Please do join us next time. Bye for now.
Bye.